Most people look at a child's drawing and see a mess of crayons. Arthur Whitmore looked at his grandson's drawing and felt the blood drain from his face. Arthur Whitmore had spent 31 years doing something most people cannot name and fewer still understand. He broke codes for a living. Not the kind of code that appear in puzzle books or escape rooms. The kind that arrived in intercepted transmissions from Soviet military channels at 3 a.m., carrying information that had operational consequences within hours. He worked in a windowless room in a building outside Washington, D.C., and he was very good at what he did. He retired in 1997. He moved to a farmhouse in Vermont with his wife, Eleanor. He kept bees, read history, and spent 28 quiet years convincing himself that the most complex analytical challenge left in his life was a Sunday crossword. He was 74 years old, and he had made his peace with that. Then his 6-year-old grandson, Leo, handed him a crayon drawing of a space battle. The chaos wasn't chaos. A retired mind never fully stops watching. It was a kind of drawing that 6-year-olds produce, exuberant, colorful, structurally anarchic. Rockets trailing fire, stars rendered as jagged bursts, lines everywhere diagonal, curved, overlapping, colliding. Leo had used 7 colors and applied them with the full-force commitment that small children bring to art they consider important. He presented it to his grandfather with the solemnity of someone handing over a significant document, which, it would turn out, was exactly what he was doing. Arthur put it on the refrigerator. He looked at it for 3 days. On the 3rd morning, holding his coffee, something locked into place in the back of Arthur's mind, the way it always had, decades ago, the way the visual cortex of a trained cryptographer never fully stops processing, even when the analyst believes he is retired. The chaos wasn't chaos. The jagged lines weren't random. The spacing between Leo's crayon strokes, the gaps, the angles, the clusters, the way certain lines terminated and others began, followed a pattern. Not a pattern Leo had invented, a pattern Arthur recognized from classified briefings he had attended in 1983, during the height of the Cold War's most active covert communication period. It was a transposition cipher, one of the more elegant variants, a method of encoding text by reordering characters according to a geometric key, in a way that could be embedded in visual noise so completely that it would register to any ordinary observer as simple artistic chaos. Arthur had seen it used in intercepted materials. He had seen it 3 times in his career, each time in communications of serious operational significance. And now he was looking at it on his refrigerator, embedded in a 6-year-old's crayon drawing of a space battle, in a farmhouse in Vermont, on an ordinary Tuesday morning in March 2026. He set his coffee down very carefully. The decoding was straightforward. Arthur had the key in memory. Some things do not leave, even after 28 years. He sat at the kitchen table with a yellow legal pad and worked through it methodically, the way he had worked through thousands of problems in that windowless room outside Washington. The pencil in his hand, the grid taking shape on the paper, the satisfying and slightly nauseating clarity of meaning emerging from apparent disorder. He had the message decoded in 40 minutes. He will not say what it contained. What he will say is that the decoding was not the hard part. The hard part was a question that followed it, because the question had an implication he did not want to sit with. Where did Leo see it? A 6-year-old doesn't invent a Cold War cipher. He copies what he sees. Leo was 6 years old. Leo did not know what a transposition cipher was. Leo had not studied Cold War cryptography. Leo had done what children do when they draw. He had reproduced, imperfectly but recognizably, a visual pattern he had absorbed somewhere in the ordinary texture of his daily life. A pattern on a wall, a pattern in a public space, a pattern he had seen and found interesting without knowing what it was, and then replicated in crayon with all the faithful inaccuracy of a child copying something he found visually compelling. The cipher was not in Leo's imagination. It was in the world around him, and it was active. Arthur made a phone call that afternoon. He still had a contact from his agency days, the kind of contact you are not formally supposed to maintain after retirement, but that people in certain professions keep anyway, quietly, because the world is occasionally the kind of place where having such a contact matters. He described what he had found. He read the decoded message. He explained where it had come from. There was a pause on the other end of the line that lasted long enough for Arthur to understand that what he was reporting was not entirely surprising to the person he was reporting it to, which was, in its way, the most unsettling piece of information in the entire episode. The investigation that followed is ongoing. Arthur has been asked not to discuss specifics. He has complied, because 31 years in cryptographic intelligence instills a very clear understanding of which information belongs to you and which belongs to something larger than you. What he will say, the cipher had been hiding in plain sight, in forms that any child might unconsciously absorb and reproduce. It had been operating undetected in public visual spaces, in a form so well camouflaged that it required a specific and increasingly rare combination of training and visual memory to identify. Arthur Whitmore was, as far as anyone can determine, the only person in the United States who both encountered it and recognized it for what it was. This is because Arthur Whitmore is 74 years old, trained by an agency that no longer teaches these methods, and has been retired for 28 years. He has not been bored since that Tuesday morning in March. The most dangerous mind in any room is the one that has seen everything before and never stopped looking.